So, after looking more into the country of Nigeria as a whole, specifically the culture, the rich points, and the economy, we determined that a good, actually a great product to try and introduce into the country would be solar panels, and more specifically on like an industrial government level as opposed to just a single home level like people often do in the US. So clearly a very important part of our proposition is the actual cost of installing the solar panels. And to find good numbers to compare with is hard considering the lack of solar panel installation in Nigeria. So taking some data from the US and specifically in Los Angeles, we could kind of guesstimate that it would cost between 25,000 and 50,000 US dollars to end up powering the size of about like a small to like medium or larger village, obviously on that 25 being the smaller side and the 50 being the larger side. That investment into the solar panels is going to end up paying off in 9 years.
I know we were going to talk about energy, right?
Right.
So I saw that like Nigeria does have some hydroelectric energy solutions.
Yeah.
But what do you think about the whole?
We don't use them. We give them to Ghana.
Really?
Yeah. All right. You see this light we have right now?
Uh-huh.
It was in Nigeria. It will be on at all. Nigeria has a weird electric system. For first half of the day, there's no lights at all. In fact, in Islam, they call it NEPA. NEPA has come. NEPA has gone. That means they are taking cut off electricity. So we have to use generator as backup to carry out daily activities. And that costs oil and money. So we have to manage it well. Of course, you work in a company, that's inconvenience. So you have a bunch of backup generators, or you pay the electric company for more electricity hours.
Wow.
I don't know how it all started, but it wasn't meant to be like that. The idea was you pay your bill, you get lights. But for some reason, that get cut off. The government has claimed incompetence for the work, so we got used to it. But now we know they scam to sell us generators.
And so everyone's using generators to access energy, and if they can't get electricity, then they go to churches and
Banks?
banks
Yeah.
to charge phones and such. Okay. Does anyone use solar panels or anything like that to
I've only heard of one family who did that. It's a good idea, people say so, but it's freaking expensive. God damn. And the amount of hours also people can use. Take like 3 days to get like a full day worth of power.
Oh, okay.
It's too much inconvenience. I mean, what happens when it's the rainy season, when there's hardly any sun? You'll be screwed.
Right.
As Ola said, life in Nigeria can be broken down into two categories, whether if you are high class or lower class, and they fall into these categories here. So I'll talk about rich first. They usually work in businesses that revolve around oil and gas. Like Shell is what Ola's dad works for. And they perform their jobs towards the southern part of Nigeria, while the northern remains more rural. So that's when we get into the lower classes, where people are just kind of have lower economic jobs. There's a large gap in wealth here in Nigeria. So when you're in the lower class, you might tend to have a lot of power outages or rely on backup generators and food that you prepared during the time you did have electricity. Okay, one thing they do in their culture that's a little bit different from others is that they tend to celebrate funerals a lot more.
Nigeria, your house also depends on, Nigeria will build houses fast and more recently than America's. You can spend like 2 or 3 years in a house. So it really depends on how much money you have. My father works in Shell, so he has money now, but back then the houses he got were like estate houses, so like small average size houses. But in Lagos, he built his own house. So it's like almost like a mansion right now.
Uh-huh.
Now, how can I say the words? Well, like everyone likes fashions now, looking good, dresses and clothes. Nigeria is no exception. We take fashion in what we wear, how we look. We even bleach our skins nowadays, which is a dangerous common trend. I see no purpose of doing that.
Okay.
And yeah, but again, it's always like to also express how, wealthy you are, or how fake wealthy you are.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's doing it now. Our weddings is preposterous. We can spend over like almost $1 million on a wedding, to brag and show how much we have.
Gotcha.
Invite people that would never see in their life.
Just to give you a little bit of background on Nigeria's economy, their top 3 trade partners are India, China, and the United States. They export the most to India and the US and import the most from China. Of these exports, the top 3 exported goods are oil and mineral fuels, cocoa, and tobacco. But oil and mineral fuels makes up 96.5% of these total exports. When looking at their GDP overall, they're currently in the decline with a negative 1.6% annual growth rate. But from 2013 to 2015, there was actually a steep growth, and from 2015 to 2016 is when we see it start declining. There's also a major increase in inflation from 2015 to 2016 that went from 9% to 15.7%, so that's definitely affecting their economy. And when looking at the country in terms of a Gini index, there's a huge inequality of wealth distribution in the country. Out of 195 countries, Nigeria ranks 152, right below Rwanda. So we see there's a huge inequality when between the poor and the wealthy of this country, and we actually see that 46% of the country's population is living below the poverty level. They are the 7th most populous country in the world and the most populous country in Africa. So with 46% living below the poverty level, that's a lot.
Nigeria gained its independence in 1960. In 2005, lenders wrote off 2/3 of Nigerians' $20 million foreign debt. In 2008, the oil production was cut in half. This is because of strikes and attacks on the oil pipelines. Oil prices were record high around the world because of low productions. In 2016, Nigeria was ranked 15th overall for oil production. And food is very important to Nigerian life, with seafood, poultry, goat, and beef being the primary sources of protein. Nigeria has 250 different ethnic groups. Divided into 36 states, the northern states are mostly Muslim, while the southern states are mainly Christian.
Now, according to the British Council, when it comes to doing business in Nigeria, there are a few pleasantries that they say that you should go about doing. One of which would be big in the Yoruba cultures of Nigeria, is showing respect to elders. They say that when you meet an elderly Yoruba person, it is respectful to bow slightly or to curtsy as a sign of respect. You should greet the people in the room when you enter. Nigerians hold greetings in high regard, irrespective of the time of day or the mood of the greeter. They also say that you should be prepared for men and women to be treated differently outside of business contexts. In northern states, it is possible that a man may enter a woman, greet only the men in the room, and not acknowledge the women. In a social situation, this is intended to show respect to any woman present by acknowledging her husband or brother or father. They also state that you should make sure that you dress smartly. Nigerians are very image conscious, and a well-fitted dark suit worn with a tie is acceptable business attire, and it is not unusual for business people to wear national dress in meetings. Be ready to accept hospitality. If someone offers you a drink or something to eat and you've been invited to a restaurant or into their home for the first time, even if you are not thirsty or hungry, refusing this may be considered impolite. Other things that they note when doing business in Nigeria is that it is very typical for, when it comes to any sort of disagreement, junior staff are expected to not question any of the senior management. One other thing to expect when doing business in Nigeria is that business meetings may be interrupted. Among traditional Nigerian business people, appointments are not always private. Do not be offended if your meeting is interrupted by phone calls or visits from your client's friends and family. It's becoming less acceptable in business, but it does happen, and you should be patient when doing that.